Hi, welcome back to the Meeting of Minds podcast. I'm Philippa Robinson. So today's episode, I want to talk about the power of thinking. And the power of thinking. So I am very much about the mind, body, soul connection. And I very much believe that if we can spend more time in our body, feeling our way through the world, we have a much richer experience. And I don't talk a huge amount about the mind. Oh, excuse me. Why is it the camera comes on and I start to cough? So I don't talk a huge amount about the mind because I spent a lot of my years in my head, believing all the thoughts that went through my head, believing that my mind was really important. And of course, my mind is important. I'm not saying it's not, but believing that my mind was the most important thing. And largely, I think that's because as a society, we really revere intellect and intelligence, which led me to believe that what went on in my mind is the most important thing. Yeah. Saying this out loud is really interesting because, I've thought through what I'm going to say. But when you say things out loud, for me, I hear myself saying them and then I can process them in a different way. I can process what I'm saying in a different way than when I read it. Do you do that as well? But yeah, I lived in my head a lot. I believed the thoughts that went through my head, and my existence was very much based on those thoughts. And what has been revolutionary, maybe is the word, in my healing journey has been understanding that the thoughts that go through my head are not necessarily mine or don't necessarily come from me. They are generated by the voices that I hear, the expectations I have put on me from other people, and they come from my experiences of the world. They don't necessarily come from within me. And what I have learned on my journey for the last 5 years is that by tuning in to what is going on inside me, I can find answers that lead me to make choices that are much better for me and that allow me to have an experience that is much more aligned with the true person that I am, rather than listening to the thoughts in my head and making decisions based on the thoughts in my head, which often come from an external source. I hope this is making sense, because this is kind of what is coming out now because of the way I've started. It's not that I'm going off on a tangent, it's just that it's coming out differently. So why do I want to talk about the power of thinking today, when actually I don't talk much about that? Well, I've heard quite a few times lately the same thing, and I felt that it was important to talk about it today. And I've heard it in a few different ways. So I'm going to tell you those couple of those ways. But it's all about not underestimating the effort that it takes to think about things. when really what we tend to put more onus on is the doing of things. So it's a bit like if we're not doing and we're not seen to be doing, then it's sort of undervalued. And the time that we might have spent thinking about something that leads us to the actual doing of that thing, it's like that thinking time is not accepted as being as important. This comes up quite a lot when I'm talking to women about the amount of stuff that we have going on in our things we've got to remember, things that we are planning, things that we are thinking about, but have not actually yet translated into action. From my own experience, I could talk about just thinking about, I don't know, thinking about my children, thinking about, okay, is their uniform all clean? Is it all fitting still? We're getting into the last term. I'm recording this in June 2022. We're getting into the last terms of school. Have they got holes in them? Are they falling apart? Are they going to last till the end of year? Their shoes in particular. Have they got everything they need to go back to school after the break? Have they got money on their cards to pay for their lunches? Have they got everything they need? If we've got enough dog food in the cupboard, have we got the dog needs his yearly injection soon? Have we got an appointment for that? Is the insurance paid? When's his next flea and worm treatment due? Shopping, when's the next shopping order coming? Have I got a shopping order lined up? Have I done the order? Let alone actually doing it, but is everything in place so that when I'm ready to do the order, the slot is there lined up ready to go? Or am I not going to do an order this week, and am I going to go and do the shopping actually in the supermarket? And if that's what I'm going to do, what do we need? What have we run out of? What might we need coming up? Have we got any birthdays or special occasions coming up? Do I need to buy any birthday cards? Do I need to buy any birthday presents? Do they need posting? When does the bedding need changing? When is the wash basket full? There's just so many things, let alone things for my business. Now that I work for myself, that's a whole other thing. Like cars, do the cars need servicing? Are they taxed? Are they MOT'd? Is the insurance due? The house insurance, all those things that need doing. And I'm a bit of a planner and an organizer, so I will probably have these things going through my mind a few weeks before they are needed. I grew up in a lot of chaos, so I need order to help me feel safe. I'm very aware of that now, so I own the fact that I need to be organised and I need to plan, because it makes me feel safe, and that's good. And the more I'm doing that, the more safer I'm feeling, the more I am able to let go a little bit. And if something doesn't get done at the right time, or something sort of gets forgotten, then that's okay. I can just pick it up, sort it, and it's done. And also, I'm not saying that I do it all. I'm married, I've got a husband, my children are teenagers, they're all capable of doing things themselves. Of course they are. I'm not saying I'm the only one that can do it. But what I do that they don't do anywhere near as much is the thinking, is the having it all in my head about what needs doing. It's like there's a ticker tape running through my head that's like, this needs doing, that needs doing, this is coming up. Have you thought about this? And I'm not complaining that I do the thinking and they don't. I don't know whether that's just the dynamic in our family. I suspect it's not. From talking to other women, I think that the thinking load is very heavy on women generally. And that's a big generalization. I'm sure there are families where there are men that have that thinking job. But what I want to say is that thinking, the effort that goes into the thinking is an effort in itself. And I think as women, or the person who are, as one of the group of people who are doing that thinking, we need to own that, and we need to talk about that more, because it is very much undervalued. I don't think I'm alone thinking this. Do you think that too? And it's not that I want a medal for it, or I want some sort of deep appreciation for the thinking I'm doing, but I think it needs to be understood that there is a mental toll to carrying the thinking load. And if I don't acknowledge that to myself, and I don't give myself time to rest and recharge my batteries, especially at a time when I'm doing a lot of thinking about things that need doing and organizing and what needs doing, then that load will start to affect me physically, because that's what happens. The body keeps it. The body keeps the tension. The body keeps the effort that is needed to carry all that thinking, that mental load. And eventually it will manifest itself in the body somewhere. It will be an ache, it'll be a pain, it'll be a cold, it will be, I get cold sores, it will be something, it will be inflammation somewhere, it will be something. So I really think we could do a better job at honouring ourselves of the load that we are taking by taking on that thinking. And the other place that thinking plays out for me, and I know I'm not alone because I read an article on Medium about it this morning, is that since I've really stepped into doing more writing, I come across a lot of people writing about procrastination. And I used to think that I was a great procrastinator and didn't just get on with things. Sometimes I can just get on with things, and others I have to give time to. But what I have more latterly come to understand is that actually what I'm doing is I am thinking about it. I might not be doing it, but I am thinking about it. So for instance, I wrote my book last year, and there were a lot of the writing, the majority of the writing happened in about 3 big sessions where it just poured out. They weren't, they were quite spread out, those sessions. But what I actually was doing was a lot of thinking in between. I was thinking about what I'd just written, thinking about what I was going to write next, thinking what came next, thinking about how it might sound, how it might come out, what I was going to write, what I wasn't going to write about. So when I actually came to sit down and do the writing, I had done a lot of the thinking and I'd ordered it all. I suppose that's the way my brain works. It sort of likes to think about everything and then put it in order. So what came out relatively easily. But the work wasn't all done in that moment of writing. The work had been going on for quite a few weeks up to that point. And so I think it's very easy to sort of beat ourselves up a little bit and say, oh, I'm procrastinating or I'm putting something off. And there might be times where we are putting something off because we either don't want to do it, it's going to be hard, it's going to be, maybe it's going to bring up lots of emotion. We just don't have the time. There could be all sorts of reasons why we're going to put it off. But actually, rather than labeling it as procrastination, I think procrastination is getting quite a bad vibe about it, and that somehow to be a procrastinator is a bad thing, rather than understanding that there is something holding us back from doing whatever it is that we're wanting to do, and looking at what that reason might be and working through that, which then unlocks the ability for us to then to be able to do it. Or maybe it's just thinking time that's needed. But the article that I read this morning was talking about, I think they called it procrastinating. So, I mean, they were talking about actually not doing the writing, but doing all the research. Well, that is entirely necessary to do the research that you need to do before, if it's a piece that you're writing that needs research. I suppose when the research stops you writing, that's when you need to look at why actually you're doing all that research and not doing the writing. And that's a different thing. But to label it just as pure procrastination, and how do we get through that? And actually, I think it's an easy label to put on ourselves and then beat ourselves up about. There's probably some fear there, and there's probably some very fear there for some, genuine reason. Of course, it's a genuine reason, but there's some fear there for a very real reason, that if we could look at that and work our way through that, then, we might be able to then get on with the writing. So that's why I wanted to talk about the power of thinking today, for two reasons that I've just outlined. The power of thinking that we're doing to lead us up to the action, but also, well, actually, in both those cases, that's what I'm talking about, isn't it? It's just they seem different, but they're not. They are doing all the thinking before the action then comes, be it the writing or be it the putting in place all those household things that I was talking about. But it's all about the thinking before the action. And it's really just validating ourselves and understanding that thinking time is really important, is necessary. And there is an energy needed to do that. So understand that is what is happening on an energetic level, and understand that you need time to rest and recharge when you've been doing a lot of thinking. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk to you today. That's another quick little episode that I've managed to keep quite short. I hope it's useful. And I'll be back again soon with another episode. And until then, bye-bye, and take lots of good care.
Thank you for listening to the Meeting of Minds podcast. You can find this podcast in all the usual places. Please tell your friends. Please subscribe. And if you have a moment, I'd be really grateful if you could rate and review, as it helps other people find us and helps me spread the messages of empowerment and positivity that I'm really passionate about. If you want to find out more about me, you can visit my website, www.safeandsupported.co.uk. Until next time, bye.